rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Culpepper.
Present.
Dr. Denson is excused. Mr. Griffiths.
Here.
Mr. Huntington.
Present.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Ms. Mia is excused. Mr. Willis.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum to conduct business this evening.
We have approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move for agenda dated February 26, 2020. Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Huntington. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Are there any announcements or communications?
Not at the moment.
The Southfield Planning Commission is a 7-member board appointed by the mayor with approval by the city council that acts in an advisory capacity to the council to make recommendations on text amendments to the Southfield zoning ordinance, rezoning requests, special land uses, site plan reviews, the Southfield master plan, and the capital improvement plan. All study meetings and the regular meeting are open to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, PA 267 of 1976, and are held on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Meeting agendas are posted the Friday evening before the next Wednesday meeting and are available for viewing at cityofsouthfield.com. Copies of plans, text amendments, the master plan, and the capital improvement plan are available for viewing at the planning department offices, and current projects can be viewed using our online interactive tool on the planning department's homepage, planning department's projects online. Contact the planning department at 248-796-4150 with questions Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you. First item on the agenda.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, we do have a number of items that were advertised for this particular meeting, for the February 26th meeting, that will not be moving forward this month. So we would like to at least take care of those first before we get into petitioners who are here this evening. So the first item, PZR 19-0007, the rezoning request, and then there is a companion site plan review request for Maple Tree Apartments. They are going through a change in their plan that actually resulted in increasing the amount of square footage, number of acreage that they needed in order to accomplish their new plan. So basically we need to advertise both the rezoning and the site plan for the Maple Tree Apartments project. So again, PZR 19-0007 and PSP 19-0012 are going to be advertised for the March agenda. You don't have to take any action on that. We're just letting you know that they will not be discussed tonight, and we will bring them back in March.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to PSLU 20-0002, this is a special use for the salt warehouse project on 8 Mile Road. This particular item, again, they were not quite ready for this particular month, so they will be coming back to you in March. This is one we'd like to postpone to a date certain. They have provided the staff with new plans, so they are ready to come back before you next month. So staff's recommendation for PSLU 20-0002 is to postpone to a date certain, that being your March 25th, 2020 meeting. And we do need a recommendation and a second on that.
To the chair,
Motion, Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to make a recommendation that PSLU 20-0002 be postponed to a date certain of March 25th, 2020.
All right, the motion by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Culpepper. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, with regard to the next item, PZR ODD 19-0005, this is the request to amend the Overlay Development District development agreement for the City Center 2 project. That's the properties just south of here on the east side of Evergreen Road. We need to re-advertise this one as well. We only advertised one of the properties, and we should have advertised for two of them. So again, no action needs to be taken by the Planning Commission. It's just a statement from staff that we need to re-advertise for the March agenda on that item. So that will not be dealt with this evening either. And with that, that should take care of any items either postponed or need to be re-advertised. So we can move to the next item on the agenda, which would be PSLU 19-0009, which does have an accompanying site plan PSP 19-0013. So the special use request is a request of Oak Flint LLC to establish a medical marijuana provisioning center, property located at 28481 Telegraph Road. You can see the property on the screen now. This is kind of an overview as to the property location on the west side of Telegraph Road. We are between West 12 Mile Road and I-696 M10. This property is currently operated as a Wendy's restaurant. The petitioner is proposing to close down that particular restaurant location and then open up a marijuana provisioning center on that property. Kind of gives you a little clearer picture of what the property looks like right now. And in essence, what the property owner did do was he actually split off the rear 100 feet of this property. So the rear portion actually has been gone through a lot split and a combination with the property to the north. The property, both the Wendy's restaurant property and the property directly to the north, which is an automobile dealership, are both owned by the same individual. So again, the property itself is a little bit smaller than what's shown on the screen. And they did go through the lot split, like I said, and did receive the lot split and the combination. So the assessing department has approved that already. Kind of gives you some ideas north, south, east, and west of the property. Property is zone B3 general business. That is the only zoning district that we allow provisioning centers for medical marijuana. The site plan portion, again, the property is similar, obviously. What the proposal is, again, is to close down the existing Wendy's restaurant, make some changes to the exterior of the building from a facade standpoint, and then pretty much use the site as it is currently laid out. With the parking, it's a one-way system from the north to the south. They did move some barrier-free spaces from the west side of the building to the north side of the building. If you recall, that was one of the items that was asked by staff to at least provide barrier-free spaces closer to the entrance of the building. So they do show that on the north side, along with the pavement striping to allow for safe access across from the barrier-free space, the access aisle, to the building itself. Kind of gives you an idea of the look of the proposal. Obviously, any semblance of Wendy's would be removed. So they would be looking at brand new color schemes and obviously new signage. This is the floor plan, and in a second we'll give the petitioner the opportunity to kind of walk you through that. And then the security plan, which is also required by ordinance. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the petitioner, kind of walk us through the proposal itself, as well as kind of give you an idea of if a patient was to come here for the first time, kind of give you a walkthrough as to how they would get through the property from check-in to the sales room to the checkout and then ultimately off the property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Could you please state everyone's name and address for the record?
Yes, John McLeod, 15587 Stonehouse Circle.
Dr. Sakib Nakadar, 4478 Duval Court, Bloomfield Hills.
Justin Danaskis, 900 South Lapeer, Oxford, Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, commissioners, for the time. Real quick, I just want to touch on a few changes that we made to the site plan, and then I'll go through an experience at a medical marijuana dispensary.
Mr. Spence did a good job of highlighting the couple changes we made. One other thing we pointed out was we added a no firearms sign after the feedback from, I believe it was the deputy chief at our work meeting. So that's added as well, right by the no loitering sign. And we also updated our hours of operation to reflect the ordinance more appropriately with 10 to 9 Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 Saturday, and 10 to 6 on Sunday. So those are a couple other items I want to touch upon. So let's talk about an experience at a medical marijuana facility, okay? So at the start of this process, if you wanted to receive your medical marijuana card, you have to see a qualified doctor within the state, such as Dr. Nakadar. So you'll see Dr. Nakadar, he'll evaluate you, he'll do his medical evaluation of you, and if he seems so fit, he'll issue you a medical marijuana card. Now that is a recommendation, not a prescription. So it's a big difference. But he recommends that you receive a medical marijuana card. He then files paperwork with the state. You will receive a card in the mail. So you take that card. Without that medical marijuana card, you cannot enter a medical marijuana facility and purchase medicine. So you need that card. So let's say you receive that card from the doctor. You have a qualifying medical reason to receive that card, and now you have a certified card from the state that says that you could purchase medical cannabis. So let's say you want to come to Bloomfields in Southfield for a really nice experience. So you would enter our lot, you would walk into the building. The first thing when you enter the building is you are met essentially in a man trap, a room that you cannot exit or enter into the rest of the facility from that room. And in that room, you will present your certified medical marijuana card and valid state ID to the actual security. So until you have been vetted by the security on staff, you cannot enter or proceed anywhere further from that entrance room. So again, you got a good doctor, you got a good recommendation, you got a good card, you've been checked into the system. Once you're checked in and verified, a bud tender or a patient advocate, an individual that works inside the store, will then come up to the front and get you. And when he or she comes up to the front and gets you, it's a one-on-one operation. So essentially, if you go into a store, you could, let's say you go into a clothing store, you could buy clothes from whoever the attendant was that was there. And people are just roaming around the floor open. There's items out on the floor loose. In a medical marijuana facility, that's not the case. Everything is behind lock and key.
Through the chair, just for a minute.
Yep.
Just because of the weather, our stenographer is a little bit late. If you could just repeat your names for the record.
Okay, thank you for that.
And then
Okay.
you can continue, but
Yes,
I
sir.
apologize for that.
Yep, whenever you're ready, man. Okay, John McLeod, 15587 Stonehouse Circle.
Dr. Sakib Nakadar, 4478 Duval Court, Bloomfield Hills.
Yeah, could you,
Dr. Sakib Nakadar, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, 4478 Duval Court.
Justin Danaskis, 900 South Lapeer, Oxford, Michigan.
thank you. Okay, Mr. McLeod.
Okay, thank you. So you're in a jean store. You can deal with anyone in a jean store. Anyone can sell you jeans. The jeans are loose on the floor. In a medical marijuana facility, that's not the case. Everything's locked up behind lock and key. So as you're on the sales floor, as we call it, it's a one-to-one interaction. You're not dealing with a bunch of customer representatives. You're dealing with that one person. This is state mandated. It's by law. So if you have 3 employees working the sales floor, at most, you can have 3 patients on the sales floor. So there's no loose movement inside the facility. It's very well secured. It's very well monitored. Okay? So you're with your patient advocate, and you could purchase any range of medicine. Okay? So there's concentrates, like edibles, or gummies, or brownies, or cookies. We've all heard of those. There's the vape cartridges, which are the odorless, smokeless cartridges. Those would be your concentrate options. There's even some elixirs that you can have, or tinctures. They're even making sodas nowadays. And I think the doc talks about a suppository that is also on the market as well. Transdermal patches, it's amazing. They have everything. And then you have your traditional cannabis or leaf that you would smoke, like the olden days. So those are your range of products. And you're a one-on-one patient advocate experience where in our store in Bloomfields, the patient advocate will have an iPad. and you will go through your list of medicines, you will make your informed decisions, and that order will be sent to the back of the house. At which place in the back of the house, we have staff that is packaging up those items. Those items are all going to be already prepackaged. Okay, so there's no, we don't do deli style where you're weighing it out in front of a patient. Everything's prepackaged. So when it comes into our facility, it's prepackaged. When it leaves our facility, it's prepackaged. There's no loose medicine laying around. So the people in the back will prepare that order. They will bag it, tag it, and bring it back up to the patient advocate, who then will review all those items with the patient, make sure that's exactly what they wanted, and they're competent with their ability to consume the cannabis. And then they'll ring them up, they'll pay, and they'll walk right back out. No cannabis is consumed on site, it's illegal. No cannabis is consumed in the parking lot, it's illegal. We'll make sure we have security on site, both interior and exterior, to make sure that's not taking place. The average time in a location would be about 7 to 10 minutes for each patient. So for that 7 to 10 minutes, that should take them from the entire experience, from entering the facility, getting verified, meeting with the patient advocate, making your purchase, and then leaving the facility. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Hopefully that was a little bit better tutorial than last time.
Yeah, thank you. And just through the chair, we have worked with the police department. We're not going to get into all the details, but there is a security plan that has about 25 things that got to be checked off on.
Correct.
But if, in just general terms, one of the questions that came up earlier today is just talk about your secure transport, and then when everybody leaves the facility at night, how you lock up and store the products and the cash. So if you could go through that a little bit also.
Absolutely.
And then I have 2 other follow-up questions.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So any product in the state, there's a license type for a secure transporter. And that's a separate license type than any of the license types that I can possess. I possess a license to cultivate, which is grow, process, which is make concentrates, and provision, which is the retail portion or the dispensary portion. Because I have those 3 licenses in Michigan, I can't have a license for a secure transporter or a testing lab. Those are 2 separate licenses. Very important licenses, though. All product in the medical and or the recreational market in Michigan is now tested. And they're very stringent tests. There's an actual license type for it, and the labs are doing quite well with the amount of business that's coming through there. But what's nice is that they can make sure that the medicine that's hitting the market or the recreational product that's hitting the market is actually tested, and people know what they're consuming, okay? Any product that comes into our facility and or cash, and any product that's leaving our facility, not through a customer, but through like a bulk, if we're sending it back to the manufacturer because of a default or something, goes through that secure transporter license. So I can't show up at the store in the morning with a duffel bag full of products and just walk in and start putting it up on the shelf. All that product comes to and from by a secure transporter. Now in our facility, we have a pretty substantial vault. And in that vault, at the end of the evening, and you can see it in the back of the facility, at the end of the evening, all the product and or money is stored securely in the vault. So there's nothing left out in showcases. There's no drawers full of cash. There's no cases full of product. Everything is secured and locked in the vaults. So at the end of the day, whoever the last manager is to leave the facility, that will be secured, locked, and then you're gone. And then no one's in the facility until the following morning. There's some things about the half an hour with the before or after.
But just maybe talk about how the secure transporter, where they park, where they enter the building, where they exit. I'm assuming it's through the secure entry in the rear, but that was another question that came up earlier today is just in general terms, walk us through how that procedure is going to happen.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They're going to come in through the back. So the idea is they would come and they would park. The way we've conceptually done is that they would park on the drive-through portion, so the back side, so as not to block the ADA spots, and then come up through the secured rear entrance. You know, that's going to be, if you look on here, and again, this is just overview talking, that secured entrance, the secure transporters are going to be able to enter that part of the building, but they won't be able to proceed past that part of the building. So they'll bring their products into that door. They'll be met with a manager, an inventory manager, who will then make sure that all the products are there. They will do their transaction, then all the products will then get moved directly to the vault. The secure transporter will go on their way. The secure transporters, they set their own schedules. They have to log all of their routes with the state. So when they start their day, they're entering where they're going, what they're moving, and what those routes are that they're taking those jobs on. So, and that's all monitored again by the state under their secure transporter license.
And through the chair, when the commission's done, I have a couple follow-up questions.
All right. Very thorough, thank you.
But thank you.
I guess just while you're up there quickly, or talk about the exterior improvements to the building.
Yeah, so, I mean, the building was built in 2012, I believe, so it's in great shape. So obviously, we're gonna remove all the red. It's not gonna look like a Wendy's anymore. We're taking down the pylon sign, and obviously sealing up the drive-through portions of the building. The way the architect drew it is, they're gonna be kind of encapsulated with a little kind of, like some greenery in there, so it doesn't just look like a sealed up drive-through. But there's no drive-through, obviously, in the state, so we're gonna make sure it's clear, and we're gonna make sure that it doesn't look like a Wendy's anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Oh. Yeah, let's, this is a public hearing. Let's open this up to the public. If anyone would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, close the public portion of the hearing. Now, commissioners. Commissioner Martin.
I have a question. You mentioned that Dr. Nakadar would be available. You will not be doing evaluation of patients on site, correct?
No, he was just mentioning that that's the process, so I have a separate office where the patients would come. I wouldn't be seeing patients there. My involvement with the facility would be more to train the staff on how to interact and deal with different patient issues, and kind of give them a better perspective on, on the medical portion of cannabis.
Commissioner Huntington.
Okay, again, how many employees will be working at one time?
At one time, I'd say probably 7 to 10, at least initially, till we see how the activity goes. You got to remember, counted to that is you have your patient advocates, so your bud tenders, the people that are actually dealing with the patients. You have security, both interior and exterior security. You're going to have an inventory manager, you're going to have a manager, and then you'll probably have people, a few people are there. So 7 to 10 people at any given time.
So would they have a special pass or something as far as access to the building?
So everything is going to be RFID tagged. Everything will be badge access, the entire building, with the exception of badge access to the vault, and that secured entry back room will only be given to one person on site at each time. That's also, again, a state requirement. There's also another room where we house all of our data, all of our camera equipment, all that stuff, the DVR equipment. That's the state mandates. We keep that for 30 days so that they can come in at any point in time, the state could, and say, pull up, February 13th at 5 p.m. in this room. And you have to be competent enough to pull that up and then be able to print that image from your cameras. So that would be another room that they wouldn't have access to, but everything's RFID.
Okay, and they all would come through the front door?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wills.
I believe the property that you show on the overhead, you have divided that property, the back half, the back portion of it, 100 feet or so, if I recall.
Yeah, it's almost exactly 100 feet, correct.
Okay. And who does that property go to?
So the property just went, so if you see the back where let's say the dumpster is or where the turnaround is, that just went up to Tamaroff.
And so it's going to be owned by Tamaroff, cared for by Tamaroff, My concern is a year from now it becoming an eyesore, no one having ownership of it, and suddenly you have grass and other things growing in as well.
It's, Tamaroff owns it, and they own the Wendy's site too. So they own all of this property, but they are starving for those parking spots. So it's gonna be used.
Okay.
And it's landlocked too, so really they're the only ones that will have access to it. But they need it for parking. So they're anxious to get that 100 feet from us.
So just, Mr. Willis, to that point, they're going to have to submit admin review for that new layout of the parking.
Absolutely.
One more question. What happens if your inventory comes up short? Is there, I mean, I'm just trying to conceptualize. Do you call the police? What do you do?
Well, it's a great question. So fortunately, hopefully we won't have to deal with that, but everything is tagged in a system that's called Metric, and that's a statewide monitoring system. And that tags everything in the state from seed to sale. So any product, whether it be a concentrate or a solution or a drop or what have you, is tracked seed to sale. So when we onboard product, so when a secure transporter comes and delivers product, we have to tag everything on site and then enter that into Metric. So if we are off on our inventory, we'll be able to tell exactly where that's from, and it's going to be internal shrink. I mean, that's where it's going to come from. So assuming there is some theft taking place, we would treat it just like any other business. If we had to get the law enforcement involved, we would. My background is I'm a retired police officer, so I don't have fear of law enforcement coming in the facility, and if somebody's stealing from us, I want that handled.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Culp.
Thank you. Let me say, very well put together. Thank you for listening to us at the last meeting and put this together. Jeff, would you bring up the layout for the inside? Yeah, that's great. It's labeled. My question is, what you have there, would there be signs inside designating those different sections?
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at the, if you enter in through the check-in,
Right.
You won't be able to advance to the back of the house, obviously, from there. So it'll be very clear the designation between the two. And as I said, employees will have access to the whole back of the house with the exception of the secure entry and the vault.
Okay, how will the separations occur in each one of those, I call them pockets? Will it be a fence or something?
Well, they're all doors.
They're all doors?
They're all doors.
Oh, okay.
And they're all RFID doors. Yep.
And that's great.
Thank you, Commissioner. And with our RFID system, everything is tracked per employee, too. So we'll be able to see which employees are hitting which doors at which time.
Okay, other thing, not about the parking, are you gonna do anything with the landscaping along Telegraph, or are you just gonna leave it like it is?
Yeah, no, we actually,
I didn't see it in the package.
yeah, we actually are putting forth quite a substantial landscaping package. And listen, I mean, there's two things that we really look for in sites that are really crucial when we're selecting where to go after is parking, and you touched on that a little bit. Right now, we're 33% over the allotment on parking right now, so we're feeling good about that. And also adding green space. This is a common refrain that we hear from municipalities.
Right.
They'd like to add green space, so we're gonna green it up as much as we can. Fortunately, we have greenery in front and along the sides that we could take advantage of.
And I like the hours, Monday through Friday, 10 to 9, Saturdays 9 to 6, and Sundays 10 to 6.
That's
So,
correct.
I think those are decent hours. And another thing, what you want to make sure is, you say you will have security.
Absolutely.
We just want to make sure that people are people. Stuff they get, we want to make sure they take it at home or somewhere, not on the property.
Yep.
Because we don't want stuff laying around in the parking lot.
Yep, no, I'm in agreement with you on that, Commissioner, and furthermore, I mean, we could lose our license if somebody was consuming on site, so we have a lot to lose in that scenario. So it's not a risk we're willing to take. The other thing is I had mentioned it in the work study, is connecting our IP camera address to the city, if that's something they can have the access to. And state mandates that 100% of our site and property is under camera except for the bathrooms.
Terry, have they cleared everything with the fire department and the police?
Well,
I'm sorry, Chair.
Both the police and the fire did preliminary reviews, but we just, working closely with the senior police department team, we have a 25-point checklist for security that they will have to satisfy, but we don't want to get into the
No.
details of that. So before they get their final approval from council, we'll need to have a sign-off from the police department that their security plan has been approved.
They don't, so we'll buy into this with administrative approval?
Well, it's
Understanding that they
through the
will-
police department, so
Yeah, I'm just-
a condition of approval is getting their security plan approved by the police department.
Okay.
But because of security reasons, we don't want to get into the details of that
Right, yeah,
at the public,
I
a
just want to make
public
sure they
meeting.
was okay with the
But that will,
project.
it's just like, they have to meet the engineering requirements. We don't get into details about engineering.
No
And
detail.
before they get their C of O, we have to have all those departments sign off that they've complied.
Okay, no problem. Very well laid out, like how you presented. Wish you luck. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Back to Commissioner Arlington first.
Okay, just had a quick question. Do you have an area designated for snow removal in the parking lot there?
Yes, sir. If we could flip to it, it's in the, if you see, it's in the, I guess, top corner. You see where a backup of on-site snow storage is, and then primary on-site snow storage. I don't know how else to describe it. Right corner. But
Okay,
yeah.
but I just want to say too, I think you guys did a very good job in this presentation. You answered all our questions very well, and it's obvious you understand the business and you know what you're doing, which is a big thing here.
Thank you, sir.
You know, good luck to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Just one last question for me. You mentioned having security inside and outside. Would that be armed security?
So we're not going to have armed security on site. That's a business decision that we've made not to have firearms on site. Some people do choose to do that, but for us, the risk versus reward is not there. It's a calculated decision that we're making that any loss of product and or money is not worth the loss of a life.
With all the security doors too, I would think that that adds added safety for the employees and for the site.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cameras, and, you know, people know that these are well-monitored, well-secured locations, so they're not seen as soft targets.
Yes.
Commissioner Copeland.
Thank you. Question, if this is approved through the council, when do you plan to start the transformation, changing the place inside from a windows to?
Yep, and that's a good question. So there's some work to do still, because we're going to relocate Wendy's. So
Right.
there's still some planning, commission work, and all that stuff for the new Wendy's site. We're going to build Wendy's a new site within the city, obviously pending planning commission approval, and relocate them. So we're not displacing them. They're staying in Southfield. They're just going to another site close by.
Okay, my question is, you're gonna build them another facility before you start doing what you need to do in your facility?
Correct.
So there's not a time frame for,
Not an exact time.
No,
As soon as
a
possible, we're ready to go.
it's a moving target. It'll probably take us somewhere around 5 months to build the new Wendy's. You know, so I mean, that would kind of be our time frame.
Okay.
There's not a lot of work we need to do internally to change this facility, but no work will be done on it until we've relocated the current tenant.
okay. Thank you, Chair.
I just had a question of, it's obviously a high-traffic area. What do you estimate customers or patients per day on a good day, or, you know, what's the goal?
Because it's a medical-only shop, I mean, we anticipate somewhere between 100 to 125 check-ins a day is basically what we'd expect. The market is ever-evolving in Michigan because we have these two kind of symbiotic laws going on, and some places are recreational, some places are medical, some places are both. So it's a little hard to put a number on that, but that's what we're anticipating.
I guess I made the statement earlier, it's creative use of shrinking down the site, kind of a win-win for you. It got the distance from the residential zoning, I believe, and allowed the adjacent auto dealership some, I'm sure, much-needed parking. So that was a creative use of zoning and reshaping your site and still meeting the required parking spaces.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Very creative. Any other discussion?
Terry?
Mr. Crowe.
If you're all done. So one of the things that we're concerned about is that the drive-through windows don't look like drive-through windows that are boarded up. So I'd like to work with your architect on getting better details of what that's going to look like, the final.
Sure.
My understanding is you can't have transparent windows to where you're displaying the product.
Correct.
So what kind of obscuring glass are you using? And I think you said that you might have some light coming in where your client, Jeff, if you could go to the one.
Yeah, so where we have.
So the consult room and the waiting area, that would be clear glass?
Correct, yep.
And then will you have like spandrel glass?
Yep.
So again, I
Yep.
want to make sure that this doesn't look cheap or fake.
No
And
question.
so, at this point, this was fine, but I need to have your architect follow up with us. And so we don't just have blocked up windows. That was one of the concerns that was raised today.
Yeah, and we can give you some, maybe I'll have them do some conceptual drawings as well, so you have a little bit more.
Because you said
tangible.
something about greenery, and I want to make sure we're crystal clear on what you're proposing before we go to council.
Right.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is, just so you're aware, we only allow a maximum of 20% overage on parking. So if you have 18 spaces, I believe the most you can have is 22. And therefore, you'll have to eliminate 3 spaces, just roughly. And that's where some additional green space could come in.
Sure.
Which can be additional snow storage, because quite honestly, the area that you designate for snow storage, if you just, even in today's snowstorm, a couple inches, you take all of that area to be plowed, you're telling me you're gonna be able to fit it in that little corner. So, it's probably those last 3 or 4 spaces makes sense to just eliminate that. You're gonna have to put a curb and some landscaping in to separate from the rear anyways. Just wrap that curb area and just create some additional green space there.
So, and just so I'm clear, you said the parking count, we're at 24 right now. 18 is the required amount, so we
So
need to be at 22.
21.6, we'll just have to round it. I thought you had 25, but 2 to 3 spaces would have to be eliminated.
Got it.
You cannot exceed 20% over, so you might have to have 21. Because if you go to 22, that's over. So that's what I'm saying, you might have to eliminate 3 spaces.
That's fine. Fortunately, we have the ability to do that, and we can use the space, absolutely.
And so, again, I want to make sure, even though it might not be your particular responsibility, but the owners, they will have to submit a layout for their proposed parking for that back 100 feet. And that should really catch up before we get to city council.
Okay.
Just in case. So with those couple extra items through the chair, Mr. Spence has already got prepared conditions, but I want to make sure those extra conditions are put in as part of the record. Or we're recommending that you consider adding those.
Any further discussion? We have a recommendation from the planning department.
We'll start with the special land use, and then we'll go to the site plan after that. So with regard to PSLU 19-0009, the special use request of Oak Flint LLC, the planning department does recommend favorable recommendation for the following reasons and conditions. Submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the planning department and planning commission will be of such size and character that will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the B3 General Business District. Location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to the occupants of nearby permitted uses. Proposed use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter is not inconsistent with nor contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Proposed uses of such character and vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfares. Proposed uses of such character, intensity, and arranged on the site so as to eliminate any adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, or fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Proposed use is designed to and operated so as to provide security and safety to employees and the general public. And also they are to meet the police department, Southfield Police Department security measures checklist for medical marijuana facilities.
I have a motion.
Through the chair,
Commissioner Willis.
I move for favorable approval of PSLU 19-0009.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Huntington. Are we prepared to vote?
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's the
is
special land use portion. Now we'll move to the site plan portion. I don't know if there's any additional discussion or if you want me to move right to the recommendation on that.
Look, we're ready for the recommendation.
Okay. So with regard to PSP 19-0013, the Planning Department does recommend favorable recommendation of the site plan review request of Oak Flint LLC to redevelop an existing restaurant into a medical marijuana provisioning center, property located at 28481 Telegraph Road, for the following reasons and conditions. Approval of PSLU 19-0009 by the City Council. Final detailed landscape plan must be approved by the Planning Department prior to the project being reviewed by the City Council. Exterior lighting will be shielded to prevent spillage of glare onto adjacent properties. Photometric lighting plan shall be submitted for review by the Planning Department prior to this item going to City Council. Petitioners provided a sprinkler system for all landscape areas to encourage preservation of plant material. Petitioners execute a perpetual maintenance agreement for the landscape and parking areas both on site and in the right-of-way, which include maintenance of any stormwater detention system. Petitioners implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security and in accordance with the security measures checklist for medical marijuana facilities. The building is to be constructed in accordance with the elevations shown on sheet 02 dated February 5th, 2020. Approval of the site plan and/or elevations represented herein does not constitute nor guarantee approval for signage. Separate approval and sign permits must be obtained from the building department for any proposed sign. Bike rack shall be installed in accordance with Article 4, Section 5.29, Paragraph 12. Facility shall be authorized to sell packaged medical marijuana and medical marijuana infused products to registered qualifying patients and through registered primary caregiver. Hours of operation shall be limited to Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock a.m. to 9 o'clock p.m., Saturday, 9 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., and Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center will be subject to all conditions set forth in Article 4, Section 5.2-7, Medical Marijuana Facilities, Paragraph 12E, items 1 through 29. And they shall meet the Southfield Police Department's security measures, which I measured earlier. In addition, there were additional conditions which Mr. Crode added. Sure.
Okay, so additional items is to reduce the parking to not exceed the 20% overage, to eliminate the drive-through windows, and that the Tamara parking submit a parking layout plan for administrative review by the Planning Department. And then as with regard to the specifics of the windows, I think we can just deal with that administratively.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion?
To the chair,
Commissioner Huntington.
I so move PSP 19-0013 be approved favorably.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Culpepper, supported by Commissioner Huntington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you
Good
very
luck.
Good
much.
job. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
the presentation. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
So next we have item number 3.
Yes, so PSLU 19, or PSLU 20-0001. This is the special use request of Indica LLC on behalf of the owner, H&T Holdings, to establish a medical marijuana provisioning center, property located 28930 Telegraph Road. There is also an accompanying site plan with this particular one, which would be PSP 20-0001. With regard to the project itself, and just give me a second, I need to. Okay, so this particular site, located on the southeast corner of 12 Mile Road and Telegraph Road. So you can see from the picture here, exact location. This particular slide is put in place because we do have a requirement within the zoning ordinance that provisioning centers be at least a minimum of 500 feet apart. This slide basically shows the distance between the site that you just gave a recommendation on, the Wendy site on the west side of Telegraph Road, and then the property before you right now on the southeast corner. So there's a total of about 1,084 feet between the two. So this site would qualify as a medical marijuana provisioning center. A little bit closer look. So there is an existing gas station on this property right now. The proposal is to demolish the existing gas station building, remove all the tanks, remove the canopies, as well as 2 of the driveway locations at the corner of Telegraph Road and 12 Mile Road. So instead of having 4, 2 curb cuts on Telegraph Road, two curb cuts on 12, we'll go down to 1 curb cut on Telegraph and 1 curb cut on 12 Mile Road. Give you an idea north, south, east, and west. The property is zone B3 general business. As I noted with the previous case, B3 is the only zoning district in which we allow provisioning centers. For the site plan portion, this is the proposed site plan. Telegraph Road is actually at the bottom of your screen with 12 Mile Road to the left. So actually the orientation of this north is actually going to the left here. So again, the proposal is for construction of a new medical marijuana provisioning center. They're showing the square footage of 3,367 square feet, along with required parking. Because of the size of the site, it's a little cramped on the property. We were at least able to get some additional landscaping along both 12 Mile Road and Telegraph Road. We actually had very little landscaping between the property line and then where existing pavement is. So we were at least able to get some landscaping both on the Telegraph Road side and 12 Mile. So we will have some landscaping as well as a brick pier and a fence detail as well on both of those frontages. That's similar to what we've done along Southfield Road. Just because there's very little landscaping there, we at least wanted to provide some additional, at least screening for the property itself. Elevations, so again, we're looking at a brand new building, stone at the base, and then a different material inset. This is the interior of the property, again, similar to the previous one. There's an existing vestibule with a check-in area, sales area, point of sales. The On the second floor, the basement, is where they have their vaults, as well as where they do their packaging. I'll go back to the floor plan. On this particular location, they actually have a garage on site. Therefore, the secure transporter would actually be able to pull right into the building instead of being on the outside, and then do the transacting, either dropping something off or picking it up on the inside of the building instead of on the outside. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the petitioner. And again, similar to the previous case, if you can kind of walk us through, should a patient come to this site, the process that they would go.
And also state your name and address for the record.
Jacob Abraham, 75 Hillsdale Road, Bloomfield Township, Michigan.
Chester Stempion, 29895, Greenfield, Southfield.
Paul Lutfi, 28995 Telegraph Road, Southfield.
Tarek Gayar, 24472 Northwestern Highway in Southfield. We also own the site, 28930 South Telegraph, Southfield.
So to go through a normal transaction, if we could flip to the interior of the floor. Oh, absolutely, hope that's better. So let's just say Mr. X would park in a parking spot. He would walk into the vestibule. He would have to be buzzed in. So that second door in the vestibule has a buzzer where the host has the clicker. So there's a visible check first to make sure that it's, no visible danger. Once they're buzzed in, they proceed to the check-in. And there's two things that can happen. If they've already been to our store, they present their driver's license along with their medical marijuana card, as described by the previous applicant. Those are checked by our POS system and metric to ensure that both the addresses match and the patient numbers match. And then, if that is suffice, they're checked in and they sit and wait in the lobby to be addressed. Now, the other situation that could occur is somebody walks in and they've never been there before. So that would be a new patient. And it's just a simple procedure of filling out a form, reviewing the rules such as no firearms, no using product, no transacting product in the parking lot, and everything as a consequence of being blocked from coming back ever again. So you fill that and you sign it, and then we check your medical marijuana card and we check your driver's license. We actually take photo pictures of them and we scan them into our POS system. That way, when they come back, they click a button and the driver's license picture comes right up on their computer screen, and they can verify that the face matches the driver's license. So after being checked in, they sit and they wait in the seats, just like a normal doctor's office, so to speak, or pharmacy. Once their number is up, it is a one-on-one transaction, so every employee has one patient at a time. The employee would come out and greet the patient and welcome them back in the sales room. There's a small little consult if they'd like, if they have any questions about their ailments or their pains, or if there's any products that might suit them better. They do have the opportunity to glance at the showcases and see what their options are. Like the previous applicant explained, the flour, the edibles, the concentrates. All the stores pretty much sell similar products. Once the patient figures out what they want, they place their order. The order is then placed in a bag, rung in the machine, stapled, and they pay to get out. And then they walk out, and they get in their car, and like the previous applicant said, there is no use of any product on site. They're not to transact the product on site. They don't go out into the parking lot and give it to somebody else and then drive away. It's kind of like alcohol. You don't go buy alcohol for somebody and then give it to them on the street. I don't know, I guess that's the normal transaction of a everyday dispensary. We do have 2 operating dispensaries, so we do this every day, and we're pretty successful at it.
Could you speak to a little bit of the basement layout and the different functions? In the garage also.
So we like having the garage, because I do have locations, I guess I'm learning as I go. The garage is not only for transport, but it's also for an armored car service. Let's say I have a busy day and I might have too much cash on hand. I would call the armored car service and they could come pick it up that night. So no money or product is taking place or transacting anywhere other than inside the building in a secure location. So if Transporter X comes in, he can pull up to the garage. We can verify that they're the scheduled delivery. All transporters are very, very good at communicating. Through Metric, we have the exact time that the transporters are showing up. It usually pops up on my computer about 7 a.m. every day. So I know exactly when they're coming, who's coming, what they're bringing. So we can monitor that, and we have our expected deliveries. So they would pull up to the drive. We would open the garage, get in, close the garage. They could then proceed downstairs with their product where everything would be counted, just as you would take an order from any vendor. The product is brought in, invoice is checked, products are marked off, we verify that everything's there, we receive the package in Metric. Now what that tells the state is that the package has now entered our store and part of our inventory, and it's all being tracked for sale. In the intake and inventory packaging room, that is where we do package. You can pre-package flour, you can pre-package pre-rolls, we call them. You can pre-package the concentrates, and it's all packaged, labeled, tagged, and then placed in the vault, and from the vault it goes up to the sale floor when ready for sale. We do have 2 offices. That's where orders are placed, schedules are written. It's where every day-to-day operations of a manager's business would work. We have the luxury of providing a nice break room and locker room. This is medicine. The state asks that we don't have drinks, we don't have food. We treat this as we would anything that somebody's going to consume later. So it's nice to have a room where people can take a break and have their lunch, and it's in a secured area downstairs. The vaults, that is where our concentrates and flour are. We like having 2 vaults because we like to separate the 2 products. It keeps it a little bit safer. And that is the basement.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up to the public. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Michael Zacks. My address is 20720 North Elm, Southfield, Michigan, 48076. I've attended the meeting here to endorse this proposal. I have a son who's 43 who was injured in a tragic accident about 4.5 years ago. Although he lives away from us, he frequently spends weekends or nights with us. He fell down an elevator shaft, landed on his 2 feet, 28 feet, broke his calcaneus in both feet, 7 breaks in his back, fractured coccyx, fractured pelvis. He's been suffering for 4.5 years. He was nearly addicted to opioids, and his doctors thought a better path would be medical marijuana. So that's what he uses. He occasionally smokes, most of the time does edibles. Unfortunately, we live in the 13 Evergreen area, and although I was born, raised, and educated in the city of Detroit, sometimes on a cold Wednesday night with snow on the ground at 8 o'clock in the night and he needs something, I don't relish the thought of driving down to 8 Mile and Hubble, where actually I grew up. Obviously, you can be in harm's way anywhere, but certainly 12 and Telegraph is a far cry from 8 Mile and Hubble. So I thoroughly endorse this and look forward to having the ability to buy product for him and let him lead out his life as best he can. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Commissioners, any discussion? Mr. Willis.
Thank you. I remember our conversation when you appeared before us before. I think you described your product as cigarettes, strictly the cigarettes.
The pre-rolls, yes, they're pre-rolls. It's like,
Okay. So
it's
when you
flour rolled in paper.
When you receive inventory, you'll just receive pre-rolled cigarettes?
Sometimes we do, and the state also allows us the ability to roll them in-house.
If you roll, how do you, are you rolling with a machine, or do you roll by hand, or how is that done?
We do both. It's there's something called a knock box, where you line the cones up, and you pack the cones with the flour. It's called a knock box because it shakes it, so it packs it so it can burn smooth and easily.
Okay, okay. And you will not sell any other product other than rolled cigarettes?
No, of course not. We'd sell, like the previous applicant said, all the products, from edibles to concentrates to flour to medicinals to capsules to RSO.
Okay. I was under the impression that you were only selling.
No, I'm sorry. No, we will be selling it all. You have to offer it all because every patient's different. Every patient's needs require something different.
And during your introduction piece, I don't think you mentioned cameras.
Cameras are state regulated. I'm sorry, I left that out. Cameras are monitored. There are cameras all over the property, inside and out, and that's regulated by the state, monitored by the state. They will not give me a state license unless they come in, and that's one thing they do inspect. They make sure every angle is covered. They make sure you have a 30 days worth of DVR, and they have access to those cameras at all times. And we spoke about also diverting our cameras directly into law enforcement, and that's something we would absolutely proceed with just to keep everybody safe.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair, I believe I did hand out the sheet that had the camera information on it at the meeting a couple of weeks ago.
You did.
To the chair? I have a few. How many employees will you be employing?
Right now, my current store, which will be similar, I have 18 to 20 at one time.
You will have 18 to 20 people in this store on 12 Mile?
Not at one time. I thought you were saying of employment. That is my full staff.
Okay, so
covering the 7 days.
3 shifts, you're going to have
about 6 to 10.
6 to 10 each shift, okay. Are you, I guess, back to what Mr. Willis said, are you going to have all of your medical marijuana packages pre-packed, or are they going to be packed as a customer comes in, requests, and I don't know what they are, request something, then you go pack it up, or it's already going to be pre-packed when it comes from the...
We offer both. We have what's called an express line,
Okay.
where if somebody would like to get in and out and they don't have a lot of time, we have pre-packed options for them. Other people, they do prefer to see the medicine. They'd like to see it weighed out in front of them to ensure they're getting their money's worth.
Okay. What are your hours of operation?
We're planning on 9:30 to 9 at night, and then Sunday, 9:30 to 6, on Saturday and Sunday, sorry.
Yeah, being that this is a gas station, which will be converted over, and you got tanks and stuff in the ground, if this goes through to the council and it's approved, when do you plan to start taking the tanks out, taking the canopies down, and start?
Immediately.
Immediately, okay. So, and from time of, how long would it take you to do all of it and start construction?
Everything goes good, no curveballs, no, poor environmentals that we have to fix. We're hoping for 6 months.
6 months, okay. Wheels up, wheels down, 6 months. I like the idea of the landscaping, because come to your gas station, and doing some of that curve around there will help it look a lot better, even though you're changing what it's originally going to be. But I think having some landscape along 12 Mile and also possibly whatever you do in Evergreen will be an asset to that part of the corner. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else? Commissioner Huntington.
Through the chair, is there a possibility in the future of you ever changing from a medical marijuana facility to recreational? Or is that totally out the picture?
That's up to the city of Southfield. If I'm given the option, I would apply.
So that would be something in your future if the opportunity came?
If the city of Southfield would welcome it, I would like to apply, yes, sir. Like I said, I do operate another store. I'm in Ypsilanti currently, and I'll be turning in my adult use application March 4th when the city opens it up to accept it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair to Commissioner Huntington, the council did decide, we did bring it to the council in 2019. They did, at least at this time, decide to opt out of recreational. Left the door open, possibly in the future, to look at it again. But again, at this time, the council has opted out of recreational marijuana.
Okay, thank you.
When you're done.
Commissioner Martin?
With your security, on the plans, I noticed there's nothing indicated for the garage entrance and exit. I assume that that would be
All doors are key
substantially
coded
secure.
with, yep, key coded with fobs for entry, where it tracks everybody's, who has a number. That number's tracked on who's opening door at what time they're opening it.
The garage door?
Yes, also.
I assume it's not a standard garage door then?
No, I mean, it would be, structurally sound and, reinforced.
Mr. Crowe?
Yeah, if I could, I just wanted to look at the elevations real quick. Mr. Stempian, on the east elevation,
Yes.
is the way to break up that long, expansive
That longer
blank
wall?
wall, maybe by putting a couple columns or something?
It's possible. It faces the parking lot of the strip center.
Right, but it's
I
still,
figured,
it's still
well, we'll
visible when
economize,
you're coming
but,
down 12
we could do
months.
something with it, yes.
So that's one of the recommendations. I mean, it's possible you could just take the stone columns and put 3 of those in and break up that.
Yeah, it could
that
very well be
expanse.
done.
And then
I did look at it, and I was going to embellish upon those piers at the corners. They're just a little too slim.
Right.
But I figured, well, once we get through this phase, we will pick that up with our working drawings.
So
yes.
if I could make that as a recommendation through the Planning Commission and have updated elevations before you go to council's final approval.
Okay.
I also have the same questions about the windows. I imagine the vestibule can be opened, but are those other ones on the west elevation, are they going to be opaque or are they going to be see-through?
Well, there is a landscape bed right up against the building, and if more screening is required to the landscaping we have.
Well,
we
it's
would-
more of, my understanding is that you
Yeah.
can't, the state doesn't allow you to look straight through into product.
Right.
So if I'm reading this right, the west elevation is looking right into your sales floor area.
Well, it does have a 4-foot-high sill to the window, and
Typical eye level is 5 feet.
yeah, and if further screening is required, we do have.
Well, whatever the
landscape
state
bed.
requires, but I don't want it to look hokey, so I want to make sure we're clear that this is
Yeah,
not
that we
just-
would comply with state requirements, yes.
so,
We could either do it 2 ways. We could tint it so nobody could see it, or we could mirror it, and we would work with the city on that to see what you guys would like.
okay, that's all, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we're clear on that. I mean, I like the natural light, but you have to comply with state, but I have also seen it done poorly where it looks
Mhm.
like fake windows, and I've seen it done
Yeah.
properly where it looks
Uh-huh.
okay. So those are just 2 details that I would ask you to follow up with
Yeah.
us on.
All right. And I might add that with your concerns about the starkness along Telegraph Road without any landscaping, the owner agreed to allow me to decrease the depth of the building to pick up enough space to get some landscaping and a grill work, and I think it's an asset to that
We
corner.
agree. I think it's having the sidewalk and having that, don't get me wrong, I'm just talking about the architecture of the building right
Yes.
now and whether the windows are translucent or
Right.
opaque.
Mhm.
So we'd like to see some product samples on that.
Mhm.
And then if you could just give us a revised elevation on the east.
Mhm.
Another question? Just to piggyback on that, you said it was previously approved that the rear wall or the east wall of this building can be right against the property line?
Yeah, they do,
Correct.
they did receive a waiver, so that runs with the land.
And then they gave away square footage to get the landscaping in, which I think is a nice trade-off, so appreciate that. All right. So We're ready for the recommendation?
I guess not. Okay, so hold on.
I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Martin.
Yeah. Just a quick question. You have 2 back vaults?
Yes.
In the ground? Do you plan on having that much merchandise on hand to?
Yes, sir.
The other one had 2 back too.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just, yeah, thank you.
One for money and one for nothing.
Okay, similar to the previous project, we do have both a special land use and a site plan. I'll read the special land use first. You can vote on that, and then I will move to the site plan portion. With regard to PSLU 20-0001, the special use request of Indica LLC on behalf of the owner H&T Holdings to establish a medical marijuana provisioning center, property located 28930 Telegraph Road. Planning Department does recommend favorable consideration for the following reasons. Submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the Planning Department and Planning Commission will be of such size and character that will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the B3 General Business District. Location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to the occupants of any nearby permitted uses. Proposed use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter and is not inconsistent with nor contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Proposed use is of such character and vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfares. Proposed use is of such character and intensity and arranged on the site so as to eliminate any adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Proposed use is designed and operated so as to provide security and safety to employees and general public, and they are to meet the police department's security measures checklist for medical marijuana facilities. Thank you.
Can I have a motion on the special land use?
Question to the chair.
Yes.
Could we add the 2 items that Commissioner Crowe added?
We'll add those to the site plan approval, if
Right.
that's okay with you. We'll
Yes.
add those to the site plan approval.
Okay, all right. Thank you. To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I so move PSLU 20-0001, favorable approval.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Culpepper, seconded by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Special land use passes. Now we have the recommendation on the site plan.
Okay, so with regard to PSP 20-0001, the site plan review request of Indica LLC on behalf of the owner H&T Holdings LLC, the Planning Department does recommend favorable consideration with the following reasons and conditions. Approval of PSLU 20-0001 by the City Council. Final detailed landscape plan must be approved by the Planning Department prior to the project being reviewed by the City Council. Exterior lighting will be shielded to prevent spillage of glare onto adjacent properties. Photometric lighting plan shall be submitted for review by the Planning Department prior to this item going to the City Council. Petitioners provide a sprinkler system for all landscape areas to encourage preservation of plant material. Petitioners to execute a perpetual maintenance agreement for the landscape and parking areas both on site and in the right-of-way, which includes maintenance of any stormwater detention system. Petitioners to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security. The building will be constructed in accordance with elevations shown on sheet T.1, dated February 20th, 2020. Approval of the site plan and/or building elevations represented herein does not constitute nor guarantee approval for signage. Separate approval and sign permits must be obtained from the building department for any proposed signs. Bike rack shall be installed in accordance with Article 4, Section 5.29, Paragraph 12. Facilities shall be authorized to sell packaged medical marijuana and medical marijuana-infused products to registered qualifying patients or through registered caregiver. Hours of operation shall be limited to Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center will be subject to all conditions set forth in Article 4, Section 5.22-7, Medical Marijuana Facilities, Paragraph 2E, items 1 through 29. And you shall meet the Southfield Police Department security measures checklist for medical marijuana facilities. In addition, they shall provide revised elevations for the east elevation of the property of the building to break up the wall prior to City Council review. And finally, they are to work with the city on window treatments for the building.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a recommendation for motion?
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I still move PSP 20-001, favorable approval.
Support.
The motion by Commissioner Culpepper, seconded by Commissioner Huntington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Good luck.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a favorable recommendation, approval for the minutes for January 8th, 2020 study meeting, and also January 29th, 2019 regular meeting.
Yeah, if I may through the chair, there's a typo there. It should be January 29th, 2020.
Okay. January 29th, 2020.
With the correction of the year, we have a motion by Commissioner Huntington, seconded by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. We have the public comment. Anyone willing to address the commission? We'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, close the public comment. Any miscellaneous?
Through the chair, you have been handed out a copy of the Open Meetings Act, and we'll be discussing that in greater detail at our long-range study meeting, as well as the capital improvement plan and presentation by the planning department on a recent transit study and gateway, neighborhood gateway study that we recently completed. So I'd ask you to try to read through that Open Meetings Act requirements before we meet in study session. And if you have any questions, you can call my office directly, but I'll be reviewing some of the procedures in that at a future date.
Through the chair, just what is the date of that study session?
I believe it's the 18th, the third Wednesday of,
Yes, that's correct. So it'll be March 18th.
so you'll have a copy, a draft copy of the actual CIP report. We'll talk about some procedures, protocols, and then we'll also have that presentation on the transit study. So I know we don't normally meet on long range, but this is one of those meetings we want to set aside just to talk about long-range planning items.
I think it's good. Good point. We'll need it.
Do you have any idea when we'll get the CIP draft?
Oh, we're shooting for the Friday prior to that meeting.
Okay.
Still work in progress. We just had the presentation to the Finance Committee on Friday, and we're still awaiting some pages from departments and so forth. But our goal is to have it to you either electronically or hard copy Friday before the Wednesday long-range meeting, so I have some time to review it.
Is this going to be a PDF file, Adobe file, or Word file? Do you know?
Well, we typically work with Windows, Word. We can make a PDF of it for you if you want.
Yeah.
And then it's scheduled to go to council on April 20th for study, and then April 27th for their approval. So there'll be almost a month between the time that you get to review it and it gets presented to council.
Yeah. If possible, I'd like to make sure I get an electronic copy in Word.
Right.
To the chair. on that issue. Jeff, when it's done, I'd like to pick a copy up from you, have a copy without putting it in my computer. I can't.
Of the CIP, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, but I have some of it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, we're happy to make hard copies if you let us know
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I'm letting
advance,
you know
but,
now. Not electronic, that's too much paper.
yeah, we understand. But everyone's trying to go paperless also, so
Yeah.
whatever your pleasure is, your
I'd like a
preference.
copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous? All right. No?
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.